On this episode of The Unseen World, evidence for the existence of Bigfoot is laid bare at a museum in North Georgia. And a visitor from the stars becomes an unlikely mascot for a small West Virginia town. There is a world all around you, filled with creations that will amaze. A world of destinations that astound. A world waiting to be explored. Come and discover the unseen world. In Blue Ridge, Georgia, one museum aims to present the definitive case for the existence of Bigfoot.
There's a lot more interest in this than you think there's. Just because you go to work, people aren't talking about it, doesn't mean when they go home that they are interested in it. We're not supposed to know about these things. My name is David Becerra. I'm the owner and creator of Expedition Bigfoot in Blue Ridge, Georgia. When I was 12 years old and my little brother was 10 years old, we went to go see a movie called The Legend of Boggy Creek. It was based on all the true events that had happened with Bigfoot encounters in Texarkana and the Fouke, Arkansas area that occurred in the early 70s. And we were so amazed at the interactions that people were having with these creatures. And the tagline was, it was based on a true story, and it really was based on a very true story. It wasn't loosely based. It was almost exactly how it happened.
The Legend of Boggy Creek, rated G.
And we were amazed to think that these giant hairy creatures could be living right on the edge of civilizations, coming in using creeks and streams to come into our neighborhoods at night to take our food, agriculture, and spy on us through windows. And ever since then, we've been, my brother and I have both been fascinated ever since. Being an avid Bigfoot enthusiast and an active investigator with the BFRO, I just thought, maybe somebody should open up a family attraction here. And the more my wife kicked it around and realized that nobody else was going to do it, we decided to do some sketches, and we decided we could probably pull this off ourselves. It's important that if you can open up a museum, something like this, that you have to have things for people to see. There's so many different kinds of artifacts in here. We have a 36-inch specimen of a Bigfoot's feces, so you can actually see what one looks like in the woods, should you come across one. We have, of course, the world's largest display of casts, and most of those we got from the professor of anthropology, Jeff Meldrum at the University of Idaho. He was kind enough to make us copies of the best casts from all over the world. And so we actually have a butt cast here where a forest ranger followed it to the bank of a river where he had sat down and then got up, and he actually cast about 32 or 33-inch cast of Bigfoot buttocks. We have there's 18 televisions back there looping witness testimony, old stories about Bigfoot encounters up here in the southeast United States. A setup where you can put headphones on and hear Bigfoot howls recorded from all over the world. Our retired tech vehicles, witness sketches are back there. The Ape Canyon incident, that's my favorite exhibit. It took the longest to create. It was the largest exhibit. And it's a life-size exhibit of what happened back in 1924 in the state of Washington, where a group of 5 to 6 Sasquatch attacked a miner's cabin. all night long because the miners had actually shot at them the day before. We have artifacts from the actual incident, and you can see what it was like to be in the cabin and be attacked by a group of Sasquatches. That's probably my favorite display.
While there are hundreds of items presented for attendees of the museum to peruse, David has found that many visitors bring with them their own stories of encounters with the elusive creatures.
Most of the people with a story are very quiet. They're very reluctant to share it with you. You'd think that you get a lot of people in here, they're really excited to tell you about their story, but most of the time I don't get the story until after they've toured the museum and they realize that it's not a hokey thing. This is actually one of my first reports I took, and this guy, one morning his mother tells him to take the garbage out, and it was just getting light. Runs around the corner of the house, and as he comes around the corner at the back of the house, he sees what he thinks is a bear bent over eating out of the garbage can. And it stands up, I'm realizing this is not a bear, it stands up on 2 feet like a giant hairy man. And then it turns and faces him. He said, this thought came into my head from nowhere. As I looked in its eyes, it said, you, man, are not from this planet. After I heard that, that's when all of a sudden I was unfroze, and I dropped the garbage and ran in the house. So we have a nice gentleman here that moved recently from Alaska. And he went to open up his mining cabin only to hear this rustling coming from down below in his root cellar. So he's thinking it's a baby bear. He goes and grabs about a 20-foot length of rope and ties it around the handle of the root cellar, and then stands about 20 feet away with a shotgun, thinking he's going to let this little baby bear out, and if it comes at him, he's going to have to shoot it. So he flings the door open, and out jumps a Bigfoot, about 5 foot tall, little juvenile Bigfoot. And it looks around and it looks dread at him. He says, it closed the gap between me and him in so fast, in like 4 steps, that within a second and a half, 2 seconds, it was right in my face, sniffing my whole face. I said, I didn't even have time to bring my gun up. And it sniffed my whole face and then stepped back. He said, it kind of had a face like a pug, it was pushed in a little bit. He said, then it just bent its knees a little bit and jumped into the woods. And 18 years later, that Bigfoot came back as an adult and saved his life when he was drowning. He fell into the river and was underwater. He was drowning, his waders were full. And he'd already made peace with God and realized his wife was never going to see him again. And this giant hand reached in and grabbed him by his coveralls and didn't just pull him out of the water, it flung him out of the water. He was flying in the air and hit the bank, and he realized that it was the same creature, but now it was grown up and it saved his life. That's probably my favorite story, but we get so many stories in here.
Expedition Bigfoot specializes in presenting evidence of the existence of Sasquatches and their interaction with humans. The museum is designed to stir the curiosity of skeptics.
The museum, it's really geared towards the general public. It's not geared for Bigfoot investigators that already have a predisposed idea of what they are. We don't tell people what Bigfoot is here. We want you to come here and view the complex, different story and encounters people have with them. No encounters like the last one. We want you to come here, see the museum, form your own opinion. This place is all about Bigfoot. We have a museum that we opened up at Blue Ridge about 6 months ago called the Adventure Outpost, and those highlight all our other interests: elongated skulls, sea monsters, ancient civilizations, giants that were found. There's all kinds of artifacts and replicas there as well. There's a UFO ET component there. Some people think that Bigfoot comes here as interdimensional. Real scientists have seen these things come out of portals, squeeze out of these things and hit the road and walk off into the woods. The more you dig into this and you realize that each theory has its own strengths and weaknesses, my personal leaning is they've been here for a very, very long time, and we're not supposed to know about them.
Expedition Bigfoot and the Adventure Outpost feature objects and stories that are sometimes unbelievable. But for David Becerra, the questions they raise are just the start of the most important journey.
We hope to light your curiosity off. I bet you a good 75% of the people that leave here that never thought about Bigfoot think, this is a real possibility. And next time they see an article or a news broadcast mentioning Bigfoot, they tune in and pay a little closer attention. So if we can light their curiosity off, then we've done our job.
Stay tuned. The unseen world will return. Now, back to the unseen world. A terrifying encounter with a striking alien creature in West Virginia led the residents to adopt the surprise guest as one of their own.
My name is Andrew Smith. I'm the Executive Director of the Braxton County Convention and Visitors Bureau and the curator of the Flatwoods Monster Museum. The Flatwoods Monster Museum mostly consists of everything that we can find that's ever been made that has anything to do with the Flatwoods Monster. We have it here on display. The Flatwoods Monster Museum all started with whenever we were in our old location several years ago, is I had a glass display case in the back that just sat empty, and I always hated it, and our front office area was kind of blank, so I just moved it up there and then asked a friend of mine who had some Flatwoods Monster knickknacks if I could display them, and he said yes, and then started promoting it as like a mini museum at the time. And as soon as I did, I just got flooded with people, either locals or artists from outside the area that had Flatwoods Monster related stuff. Everybody just wanted to give me stuff.
Today, the Flatwoods Monster is inextricably linked to the Braxton County area. But the legend of the mysterious creature began in 1952, more than half a century ago.
On September 12, 1952, there were several boys playing football on a field near the Flatwoods Elementary School. As they were playing, it was kind of late in the evening, they see something streak across the sky and appear to land on a nearby hilltop that was on property owned by a nearby farmer. So they decided to run and go check it out. And on the way, they had to pass by two of the boys' home, Ed and Freddie May. And so they grabbed their mother, Kathleen May, and head up the hill. On the top of the hill, they could see this sort of a pulsing, glowing red light that shouldn't be there. There's also a sort of a smell hanging in the air that's, some would describe it as sulfur smelling, some would describe it as like a burnt metal, like almost the smell if you were around someone welding. So as they're concentrating on this light, from their left they hear movement in the brush, and they shine their light in that direction, and this towering figure appears to be gliding at them while also emitting a shrieking sound. They're gripped with fear, drop their flashlights, turn and run back down the hill. By the time authorities got there, there was really no trace of anything that they could see, including the red light. The only thing remaining that they could detect was the smell still hanging in the air. Kathleen May described it as being, a 10 to 15 foot tall, semi-man-like creature with a large red face, a large spade shape that went behind its head. The bottom of it appeared to be made of some sort of like fabric. She even specifically mentioned drape-like folds. She also mentioned its hands appearing to be like talons. Freddie May, her son, would later kind of talk about it seeming to be maybe a little bit more mechanical, like maybe it was some sort of, what they could actually see was maybe either some sort of suit or some sort of like spacecraft. The eyewitnesses drew their own interpretations, which of course none of them were artists, but they were taken independently and they're shockingly similar. Kathleen May was taken to a police sketch artist, and based on her description, he drew what has become the now famous illustration of the monster in what is used as pretty much the baseline for any time anybody like represents the monster in any sort of media or art. But of course it made all the local papers, reported it, and then, the statewide Charleston papers, I think pretty much the next day, they ran stories, and then it got some national attention as well, and I know Miss May was on several national radio stations and a couple TV shows as well.
The unique appearance of the Flatwoods monster has made it a pop culture icon, even far outside Braxton's county lines.
The design has been used in many Japanese-based video games or Japanese-designed video games. So like, your final boss in a game might be the Flatwoods monster. So it's in Zelda, and then 2 other games that I know of that predate that. One on Nintendo NES and one on Sega Genesis. The drawing done based on Kathleen May's testimony, somehow or another that drawing got to Japan and sort of entered its alien subculture interest that's there, but the story really didn't. For instance, this lady that came and visited, she talked about how she's seen this drawing her whole life, but that she didn't know the story. And she just happened to find one of our ads that we ran online in Japanese, and that's when it clicked. So she came to our website and learned all about it. But yeah, evidently the story isn't incredibly well known, but the monster is.
The mystery of what truly happened that September 9th in 1952 may never be solved. But whether or not an extraterrestrial being visited the sleepy little town of Flatwoods, the story has left an indelible mark on Braxton County.
Especially if it's a thing that happened where you live, it's really easy to feel like it's really not that big a deal. Because that's actually the way I thought about the Flatwoods monster, that it really wasn't that big a deal until people really started giving it a lot of attention just when I had barely anything to display. And then ever since our collection's really grown, I've just been proved wrong over and over and over again that, it's a story people care about and that they're glad we're sharing. This is a story that took place in the middle of West Virginia that happened to just a bunch of average, people that lived here. And it's a fantastic story. And whether you believe it or not, it's at least based in reality. And there are so many stories like this all over the country and all over the world. I would encourage everybody to leave here and then dig into, the place that they live. Does it have a Flatwoods monster? And if so, uncover it and talk about it and celebrate it.
The Unseen World will be right back. We now return to The Unseen World. If you'd like to visit the locations featured in today's episode, here is more information. Expedition Bigfoot is located on Highway 515 just outside of Blue Ridge, Georgia. It's open Wednesday through Monday from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. General admission is $8 for adults and $5 for children ages 5 through 12. For more information, visit expeditionbigfoot.com. The Flatwoods Monster Museum is located in downtown Sutton, West Virginia. It's open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. and weekends from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. For more information, visit braxtonwv.org.